Our next story is about Grant County Coroner Craig Morrison and how he manages to see a positive side in his challenging job. Reporter Jeff Chu has the story.
Few jobs are more challenging than that of a coroner. Grant County's elected coroner, Craig Morrison, can attest to that. There's the responsibility of notifying next of kin that they have lost a loved one, possibly a child, to suspicious circumstances such as foul play. Then there's the reality that death never waits for the right time to happen. So the on-call coroner must accept dismal, bloody crime scenes at odd hours of the day or night.
You ask about a typical day at the office, and honestly, that's what I like about my job, is that there is no typical day at the office. When we come into the office, we don't know what's going to happen.
But Morrison, who has been in what he calls the death care industry most of his life, working at and directing funeral homes, manages to see the upside of the job. He says after 4 years on the job, he's almost accustomed to it.
I would say normal is whatever you get used to. So, yeah, being used to it a little bit to some degree.
As coroner, Morrison investigates any death that falls under his jurisdiction. The deaths he and his two investigators examine include those that are sudden, unexpected, violent, or suspicious.
Our job is to investigate deaths to determine the cause and manner of death.
Morrison says the process involves gathering information, examining the scene of the death, interviewing relatives, friends, healthcare professionals, law enforcement personnel, witnesses, and others. His job is to examine a deceased person's body externally and internally, including microscopic and toxicological examination. Forensic pathologist Eric Keisel is called in from Tacoma for autopsies that Morrison and his staff assist. In 2014, the Grant County Coroner's Office examined 408 deaths in the county. Morrison says that's down from 2013, but it was the first year it has decreased and continues to rise with population growth.
Of the 408 last year, I think 35 or 40 received autopsies. The year before was a little higher.
Morrison accepts the fact that his job is morbid, but he sees a positive end to those affected by a loved one's violent or mysterious death.
We're dealing with the dead human body. And I suppose the thing that we do mostly is respect that. And we want to know why that person died. And is it a place that the findings that we have, will it help the family that's left behind? Most of the time it does.
While the coroner's offices are located on West Ivy Avenue in Moses Lake, Morrison and his staff spend much of their time at their autopsy room deep inside Samaritan Healthcare Hospital off East Wheeler Road. The autopsy room is next door to a morgue, a refrigerated room where bodies are stored for scheduled examinations. The autopsy room includes an examination table, a floor scale to weigh the body, and a hanging scale to weigh body parts. Morrison explained what determines the need for an autopsy.
Well, there's certain protocols that we go through on a homicide type situation. We work directly with law enforcement. It's not our job to catch the bad guy, but the findings that we have need to uphold their story. You know, what happened. When we get into autopsy here and we're following bullet traces and things along those lines, does that collaborate with their story? Do they need to go, well, maybe that didn't happen this way if the body's telling us that it happened a different way?
Morrison says the worst part of his job involves examining child deaths.
More often than not, we're doing autopsies on children to get rid of the stigma that goes around that. You know, parents are beating the kid, or maybe they're not being taken care of how they should have been. And like I say, more often than not, it releases that from them.
The coroner's office has 2 vehicles to respond to crime scenes. They are equipped with computers, examination equipment and materials, body bags, and gurneys to move the bodies. Morrison was joined by one of his 2 investigators, Casey Sherwood, who has a similar background to his boss in funeral services. Sherwood echoed Morrison on why he likes the job.
Getting to interact with families and helping them answer questions that they may not know, it is very rewarding.
I'm Jeff Chu for iFIBER 1 News.
We'll be right back.